Abhijit, thank you so much for making some time. It's really special to have one of the core leaders of the transformation of India's banking scene over here. So thank you so much. Why don't you maybe just quickly start with a one or 2 minute introduction of who you are and your background, and then we can get into a very interesting conversation.
Thanks, Sumit. So right now I'm with Axis Bank, okay, and I'm heading the API banking product development. And prior to that, I was with HDFC Bank, with the same role. But in Axis, my portfolio or my team size is large, and I'm taking care of the entire retail and wholesale part of API banking. And see, as you know, India is a powerhouse of digital transformation, and especially in finance and BFSI sector. Uh, Day in day out, I'm just sharing or rather, I'm exploring APIs. I'm exploring new transformations, uh, and right now the entire focus of uh, mine is into uh, AI and ML bit, or doing something on AI and ML in API banking, which as of now mostly people are not touching on. So that's what we have. I'm doing right now.
So,
Yeah.
so could you maybe can we take a few steps back and you know, I don't think there's a lot of people that understand truly the shifts and the velocity that the financial industry has been transforming here in India over the last 10 years.
Hmm.
So maybe could you just, for the benefit, especially for a global audience, what are if you could give a retrospective on sort of the banking scene in India over the last 10 years from a technology standpoint? Um, we've seen the emergence of APIs in the 2000s, and in US and Europe, a lot of open banking kind of starting to mature. India has leapfrogged at a national level through all the technology infrastructure driven by the government, which has played a very active role. And then private sector banks have really kind of stepped up the game as well. So maybe could you just give your commentary, your retrospective on what's happened, what's happening, what are the learnings, some of the opportunities today?
See, if you see 10 years back, that means in 2011, I can tell you my experience. I was working in one of national based company in Calcutta, and I need to open a salary account that time. Okay, and that salary account took around 7 to 8 days. I don't want to take the name of the bank, but it took 7 to 8 days to get open, and it took 2 or 3 more days to get activated. Then it took 2 more days to get my checkbook and everything delivered at my home. Now, if you see today, if you want to open a bank account, okay, you can open it in a minute. Okay. Your mobile banking or internet banking will get activated within maybe 2 hours max. Now, after that, if you want to make a payment, okay, you don't even have to come to your mobile banking. You can go to your any of the UPI app or any Google Pay or Phone Pay. You can make the transaction. So last 10 years, especially in last 5 or 6 years, I have seen a kind of openness in Indian banking industry. Okay, we are getting over that conservativeness that will allow users or will allow our customers to do this thing only, will not allow them to do that thing. So these concepts, these bottlenecks or these blocks are getting mitigated right now. It's getting removed. People are more open. People are thinking that we should allow fintechs to do their own business. We should allow them, we should help them, we should make a collaboration. If you see all this, in the last 2 3 years, whenever you have heard any of the bank CIO or CXO speaking in any of the forum, they all are saying the only one word is that collaboration. Okay, people are think about collaboration, and this collaboration should be between fintech and bank. That means there is an openness. So there is a transformation, huge transformation going on. And in my opinion, in next 5 6 years, we'll see more transformation, and mostly in the sector where we are creating nudge for the customers. Okay, if you see mostly mobile banking apps all the banks. Okay, they are sending you nudges, they are pushing you to do transactions, they are pushing you the offers. Now these are restricted to today. These are restricted to the mobile banking app. But uh, my prediction or my speculation is that in next 2 3 years we'll see these kind of offers into our any third party app. Okay, maybe in Google Pay or maybe in Phone Pay or maybe in any other app, we'll see all these banking offers are coming up, and these are happening. Okay, I mean Google is with Axis Bank for credit card issuance. I mean we are offering credit cards. We are into Flipkart. Flipkart is also offering Axis Bank credit cards. Okay, and I'm not saying that we are only one. I mean, there are many other banks who are doing the same thing. Okay, and there is, I mean, you must be knowing. I mean, ICICI is having same kind of relationship with many of the UPI partners. Okay, so this is the change. This is the transformation we have observed in last 5 years. Okay, and probably in next 4 5 years there will be huge transformation around this customer nudges, customer experience. Uh, Especially in this pandemic, we have seen that people are doing banking sitting at their home, right? And maybe in next 2 3 years, people will be much more, inclined to the digital transaction, especially in digital payment. Uh, so this way, I think in next 5 years, the transformation will be huge and on the nudges part, mostly on the user or customer nudges part.
Interesting. You mentioned collaboration, and by that, can you explain? Do you mean ecosystem, opening up to an ecosystem of partners, collaboration internally within employees? Banks becoming a platform, so there's all sorts of collaborators building on top of the bank, using the bank's APIs, and thereby the bank getting a lot of value, and then also expanding channels. What do you mean by collaboration?
I mean, literally collaboration when we are into BFSI industry, we can see, I mean, it should be between the partners. Now, who are the partners? One end, it should be the BF, I mean, the bank or the A5. Okay. The other end can be the fintech. It can be a startup. It can be a edutech company. It can be a risk tech company. It can be a rate tech company. Okay. And when we are talking about collaboration, it's not only to enhance the business of the bank. For example, if we take example of all these fintechs who are working for last 10, 12 years almost, and they're sourcing loans or credit cards, okay, or any other asset or liability product for banks, they're mostly into the acquisition part. But when you see compliance end, okay, there are many fintechs that are coming up with the new risk and fraud protection or threat protection applications, okay, or they, I mean, I know there is a fintech, I don't want to take the name, but they're from Bangalore and they are doing very good in risk monitoring. Okay, they have built few APIs which will be which banks may be using in next 4 to 3 years, and those will mitigate the risk. Okay, if you want to underwrite your customer, okay, if you want to do some good credit underwriting, for that also there are many fintechs who are coming up with APIs. So these are the transformations happening around, and these APIs are getting built outside the bank as per the bank's requirement. Okay, and banks will consume it. And when I'm saying bank, it's needless to say, I mean bank or any other NBFC who are into lending business, they can also use it, right? So these are the type of collaboration happening around. Okay, that the entire ecosystem. So it's a, as you rightly said, that it should be an ecosystem. It's not a two-way collaboration. Okay, it can be there are 2 or 3 partners or 2 or 3 entities in that ecosystem. They are collaborating to each other. For example, let's take an example of Bank Bazaar. Bank Bazaar, let's say, is sourcing a loan for a particular bank, and that bank is using TransUnion or any other company's uh, credit underwriting API, right? And the delivery and the disbursal of the loan or the documentation of the loan is being done by e-com express. So these are complete ecosystem. Okay, and just mind it. I mean, maybe to you, TransUnion is a large organization, but the collaboration is happening within this bank, right? Around the bank rather. So this way, this entire collaboration, I can foresee is happening,
Yeah.
and
So
there's a huge opportunity for the fintech. Yeah.
here's my question then. You see, it's one thing if we have a technology native leader who understands inherently the power of ecosystem, there's a little bit of a bet you're making that you actually don't know where business is going to come from sometimes. You might be creating a whole new possibility. If you were to look at leadership in banks today, they've been used to, running brick and mortar banks where for them, the metrics of success is checkings account, saving account increases, the float value of within the books, the the number of loans, safe loans that are coming, right? So looking at like traditional retail banking liabilities metrics. When we start to now pivot and look at the ecosystem, we're building the business case, the value proposition for this ecosystem and the technology stack for the ecosystem. How are these conversations positioned? How is the value proposition communicated in the bank today? And how do you see that conversation evolving in the future?
Okay. So see, it was a trend maybe in 4 or 5 years back when bank was thinking of a new building up new technology or new transformation or some new concept has been raised. Maybe someone from outside has came up with a new thought process, or maybe some innovation team member has created some new thought process. There was a field called business benefit in that entire note, wherein you have to write the tangible benefit. For example, with this, I'll be adding up 5,000 new CASA relationship, or maybe I'll be adding up 2,000 new credit card business per month. But nowadays, this entire piece has got changed. And when I'm saying change, rather I should rephrase it. I should say that it's getting changed. Okay, in last 1 or 2 years, the thought process is not only into the tangible benefit; it should be on the intangible. For example, I'm building a very good customer experience. Now my customer experience can't, I mean, always, ensure me that this will increase my acquisition, right? It will increase my um daily CASA acquisition or monthly credit card business. It can also increase my chances of it can also increase the conversion ratio, or maybe it will decrease the drop off ratio. We don't know how many customers are getting dropped off in a digital journey. Okay, mostly we have these analytics tool, we know, but the exact reason we cannot know, right? Suppose there is a new technology, or a fintech comes up with a new thought process that we have an analytics tool, and with this tool we can actually identify these many customers are getting dropped off in your loan journey or in your customer journey. So with that tool we will figure out that why these customers are getting dropped. Now this cannot give you a tangible benefit, but the intangible benefit is the chances of getting drop off are getting less, right? So that's how the entire business value proposition banks are thinking of. This is one angle. There is another part, which is a compliance. As I told you, there is a risk tech company. There are many risk tech companies who are working on the threat protection, or fraud monitoring, or risk protection technology. Now these actually help you to ensure that your bank is much more secure, or your entire ecosystem is much more secure, right? And almost all of the Indian banks, they are into API gateway business. They are having their open API framework. And when you are exposing your APIs in the external world, the risk is always high. And that's how you have to ensure yourself that your data, or your entire ecosystem is not getting volatile. Now these threat protection and security protection, these all are the benefit. In these cases you cannot added the benefit, right? The tangible benefit you never know. There are always intangible benefits, and banks are thinking in that way also. Okay, so whenever I'm building a new collaboration, that doesn't always mean that I'll be looking for a new CASA acquisition or new credit card builder. I can also think of a good customer user journey, or I can think of a new UI UX, which will keep my customers stick to my journey. Like, so this way, banks are getting transformed, and the value propositions are also getting changed in that way.
What do you see are the fundamental shifts that bank leadership need to have in how they approach investing into the whole new technology stack of the future, assuming that you agree with me that we're going to need a new technology stack of the future. What are some of the shifts in thinking that we're going to need in support from the executives?
See, I mean, if you see again, in last 5, 6 years, banks are not shying away in investing money on technology. Okay, especially we have seen. I mean, there are many banks in India who are into Google APG, right? There are many banks who are coming into Amazon AWS cloud. That means people are investing, and that means people are at, at the senior leadership level in all the banks. They have understood the significance of building up new technology. Okay, and recently I have read in one of the articles from a CEO of a leading bank. He's saying that now no more banks are banks; they are now into technology company, and it's true. We see in banks we have our IT division, we have our digital innovation team, we have our digital transformation team. On top of that, we have our product team. So all of us are doing what? We all are working on technology only. Okay, so if you want to build a new technology, if you want to transform your entire business into a digital business, so for that you need technology, right? And that technology should be a cutting edge technology. For example, Google APG. Okay, now Google APG is a trend in the market, and in my opinion, Google APG has few things or certain things which many of the other gateways are not having. But the trend is people are not shying away from investing on Google APG in their bank, and it's a huge investment, right? Similarly, I have seen there is another bank, they have implemented Adobe, okay, Adobe Analytics tool and Adobe Experience Management, AEM tools. That's a huge investment. Why they are investing? Just to create a good user journey, create a good user experience. Without that, their business is booming. But now with this, they want to stick with the customer. Okay, they want to share a few more delights, right? Few more delights to the customer. So that's why, I mean, more such technologies or more such tools will come in the market, or the more banks will be open towards the technology, the more support the people who are into this banking product team, I mean, especially in digital banking team, the more support they will get, right? So this way, I think this transformation is actually helping us, and mostly I have seen in banks, CEOs and MDs, they are also very open to invest in technology part. Okay.
So in terms of the journey that the banks are undertaking to kind of refresh the tech stack, we've got core banking systems that have been there for years, all sorts of other systems that have been there, data stores that have been there for years.
Mm.
And now we need to build a fresh new muscle around next generation architecture, microservices, loose coupling, the proverbial Amazon two pizza box team thinking, so that you become a composable bank.
Mm.
What does it mean in your experience to embark on this API journey? How are we thinking about it? Is it architecture, a first-class citizen? Is it about governance? Is it about investing in, process and workflow to ensure everything comes together? Is it evangelism? Is it like building excitement? Is it hiring new people? Like, what are the things that banks are doing today, and what can they do better along this journey?
So it's a complete framework. Okay. If you ask me what is API banking or what APIs are doing in bank, the APIs were there in the business for last 10 years. We all know. Okay. Now in India, when we are talking about API banking, that means that we are externalizing our API. Okay. So mostly banks are building their own framework, you say, an API banking framework. Now what will happen? In API banking framework, there will be a product who will create new use cases, who will create new business cases, who will design a new product around that API. And then there is an IT who will deliver or implement those APIs. There is a sales team or business team who will go and pitch those APIs into the to the customer or into the market. Now, when I'm saying building a product, that means the productization. The API nowadays no more an endpoint or URL. Okay, it's more like a product. For example, I have a loan API. Okay, I know
Right.
for sourcing a personal loan, I can have 5 or 6 APIs. Now these 5 or 6 APIs are nothing but an endpoint. When I'm saying a productization, that means I'll have to create a new product in my API gateway using these 5 or 6 APIs.
Right.
Now I'll give that product to my uh, coverage team, or I'll give that product, that API product to my sales team. They will go to the market, they will talk to the partners, they will talk to the fintech, and they will sell it. So
Right.
that's how this entire framework is getting built. Now there is another part of that framework. See, when I'm selling a I mean a CASA account, or when I'm selling a credit card, you can see that product. Okay, it's more like a tangible or semi-tangible product. But when I'm selling an API, it's a conceptual product, right? Now, when this conceptual product is getting sold, there are risks, there are vulnerabilities, right? So how we can mitigate it? So there are infosec. We have to create our own security policies. We'll have to put those policies into our framework. Any product getting built in that API gateway should be in tandem with the security policies of the bank. There should be a tight couple API agreement between the partner and the bank. So this is how these entire frameworks are getting built. Okay.
Mhm.
And again, API banking is not a channel. API banking is not a platform. Rather, it's a product. Okay. We'll have to productize our internal API. Also, we can create new API by consuming some external API. There are many fintech, or there are many, you name around Visa or MasterCard. They are having very good APIs, right? You can
Mhm.
easily consume those APIs, build your own product in your bank or in your even in your BFSI, and you publish those APIs as a product to your partner,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So this is how this framework is going on. And in API banking, my speculation in next 2 3 years, we'll see few more products. Okay, few
Mhm.
more
Product
products which
thinking.
we haven't seen as of now. The new banking products will be built, or rather, these are getting built in API gateway. Okay, in a traditional banking or in traditional digital banking, we haven't seen those products as of now, but it's getting built. Okay,
Mhm.
and there comes the point of fintech. See, we can build a very customer friendly product. We can build a very good, nice use case, okay, or very good user journey in a product, and we can put it in our mobile banking app, or we can put it in internet banking app. But if we put it in, or if we give the same API or same product to a fintech, the way
Mhm.
they will market it, the way they will externalize it, sometimes I feel it's a little difficult for us to do that. Okay, because of the because there is a need of vision. In my mobile banking app, when a customer is coming, he is doing lots of transactions. Okay,
Yeah.
he's mostly coming for fund transfer or maybe for some service request. Most of the time, the feature I'm having for a new product will get missed. But when the same user is going to a fintech, that product will get highlighted over there. So that's why there is a collaboration needed, and this collaboration is working around this API framework. So I mean, in Indian banks, we are working on API banking framework, and I believe in most of all the banks, I mean, they are building their own API framework, and that's how they're working today.
Where where do you see this going? The what are the drivers, the forcing functions for APIs today in the FI industry today in India? Uh, is it, if you could think of like two or three waves, right? The first wave was let's let's allow people. You drew that example of it took 9 days to create a checking account. Now it takes you 2 minutes. So the efficiency of doing business with a bank from a customer perspective, maybe that might have been the first wave. Second wave and third wave, where are we going? Is it more intelligence, analytics? Is it predictions? Is it fintech ecosystem? Where are we going with APIs today in India?
See, if you see in API banking, we have seen new business acquisition. We have seen um, payment transaction being happens through API gateway or through API banking product. We have seen people are raising their service request. They're raising their, the, I mean, with API, people can check the status of the credit card or any of the issues raised with bank.
Mhm.
But one thing we haven't seen as of now, and it's completely my own opinion, is that we haven't turned around the data. In API gateway, whenever our hits are coming, there is a huge chunk of data getting logged over there. Okay,
Mhm.
but that data will have future. There should be some analysis. There should be some analytic tool in that API gateway that will churn the data, right?
Mhm.
So that part is not yet been touched upon. And obviously, the reason behind that this entire API banking thing is like 2-3 years old. In 2-3 years, the
Yeah.
number of data we'll have that is not that huge. I mean, maybe in 2 more years, when this entire piece will get matured into 5 years, we'll have some more data. In that data, maybe we can create our data lake architecture, or maybe we can put our own AI tool or AI engine on the data. We'll analyze those data. We can create new offers out of those data.
Sure.
Uh, we can create new customer behavior. Okay, we can
Yeah.
analyze the customer behavior from that data, and that is the future of API banking.
So
Okay.
do you see a wall or a boundary emerging, or maybe dissolving? Maybe you see a boundary dissolving where, today enterprises, not just banks, but enterprises, any company wants to kind of build a moat around data. That's what you go to any CC and they'll ask you, what is your data moat? What is your moat? And do you see a world where maybe we need to switch our thinking and say, it's not about the data moat. It's about getting the insights. And if we find insights from the data from a third party provider and we allow them access to this data, but then we get those insights for our own business purposes. Um, that's a fundamental shift, right? We move the conversation
Mm.
from data ownership to maybe insight generation and ownership. So do you see a transformation occurring, or do you see a world where banks will always want to keep it to themselves?
You know, if you see in back in 90s, okay, whenever you need to do a banking, you need to visit a home branch. Okay, and I believe you know what is home branch, right?
Right.
Then the shift happens in the late 90s, when mostly in 98, 99 or 2000 type. That time core banking came, CBS. For that you need to, I mean, banks have started saying that you don't have to visit the home branch, you can go to any of the branch and you can do your transaction. Then the next shift happens in 2001 or 2002, when banks have started opening their own net banking, internet banking. And for that time, banks are saying that you don't have to visit any of the branch, you can do your transaction digitally or through your net bank. Then another shift happened in mobile banking. Now see how these transactions are happening. You don't even have to log into your mobile banking app. You can visit to your Google Pay, you can go to Phone Pay, you can do your digital transaction, digital payment from there. That means there is an openness. Okay. And not only the transactions, banks are offering fintech to provide a journey to their customer, to book fixed deposit, to book recurring deposit, to open a credit card. Okay. And when these transactions are happening, there are huge data set are getting locked in both the way, in the fintech's way, also in the end of bank. Now, if we build some data lake architecture over there, okay, that will create the huge nudge around the data, and that nudge will ultimately benefit the customer, right? End of the day, be it a fintech, be it a bank, or any other entity in this entire API banking ecosystem, the ultimate goal is the customer, right? We'll have to think for the benefit of the customer. So in a way, by this openness of data, by this openness of architecture, openness of framework, we are creating nudge and we are benefiting our customer. Okay. So that is the shift we have seen. And in next 2-3 years, in my opinion, the shift will be huge. Okay. More transformation will happen around API banking. And I have seen everybody is talking about APIs today, right? So that's my answer to your question.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So then, what are the opportunities? So if you were to look at you put on your futuristic hat,
hmm,
how will ecosystems transform? And what are the opportunities for fintechs to partner with large banks? and opportunities for entrepreneurs. What are those?
See, as I told you, I mean, banks are very open these days. Even as an API banker or an API banking product head, I have seen those days are gone when people are saying, "Arey, wo to fintech hai." I mean, it's a new fintech coming up. Let's see. No, people are saying like this way. Oh, there is another fintech. Let's explore it. Or let's see what they're doing. The ideas are, I mean, even a very minuscule idea, banks are, exploring it because we never know what will click and what will not, right? So the opportunity for fintechs are huge, and especially in the way where the cross-cutting things are happening. For example, this I just given an example, RegTech, regulatory technology, okay, or the EduTech, education technology, wherein we have huge opportunity, okay, and this part are not yet touched as of now. So maybe in next 2 years, all the RegTech companies they will come up with new thought process. Uh, Banks will have a much more collaboration with them. But in a way, fintechs are having huge opportunity. And again, I'm telling you, banks are not shying away to build a new partnership. Even at least when a partner is coming to me in Axis Bank, okay, if he is looking for any of the API, maybe for the first time I have heard the name, but still we entertain them. I mean, not entertain. I mean, rather we explore them, right? We try to build a collaboration, whatever minuscule or however minuscule the idea is, but still we always try to build a relationship. And this not, I'm not saying that these are, I mean, we are the only bank who are doing this. All the banks, banks are, again, I'm saying banks are really open with all the fintech these days.
Great. So now flipping the script, if we're in front of 5, 6 big bank CEOs right now and executives, what would you advise them to make sure that they're making the right decisions for a truly robust, sustainable bank of the next 5, 10 years? What would you say to them?
Um, I'll just say 3 points here. One, we'll have to be more agile to the technology. We'll have to be we'll have to assure that whatever new technologies are coming up, we shouldn't be shying away from those technologies. We should explore those technologies. We should see what the technology actually does. Okay, whether we'll consume the technology or not, that's a different question. But we should at least explore. Okay, this is one. The second thing is, again, as I told you, I mean, we are becoming much more open to share the data, or much open to share our tech capacities or tech capabilities. But at the same time, we should ensure that there is no leakage. Okay, so on security front, whenever I'm sharing an API, there is always a thread get open. Okay, so we have to mitigate. So we have to invest more on the security part when we are talking about API banking. And the third is that the cloud architecture. I mean, to be very specific, we have seen there are banks who are moving into cloud, and maybe in future there are many more banks will go. But the cloud is the next architecture. Those client server based architecture are no more there. Okay, once you have a cloud, then you can have a data lake architecture. Then you can create those, I mean, data analysis, database tools. So that's why I'm saying these are the 3 points which I would not rather advise. I'm too small to advise, but yeah, in my opinion, if I were their face, these are the 3 parts where on technology or on API banking, I'll definitely look upon.
Great. So thank you so much, Abhijit. This has been super informative. Hopefully, the world will get a better taste of the innovation happening around the Indian banking scene. Thank you so much for your very, very valuable insights. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.